9th century. We're talking about Moorish rule of the Iberian Peninsula of Spain. And this was a period in history that I find fascinating, and I've always felt such a strong affinity to, because, I don't know, call me a pluralist or what you will, but I've always enjoyed how cultures can blend and exchange ideas with each other. And this was truly a period in history where that happened, where your religion was inconsequent. It really wasn't what mattered. What mattered was, what did you think, and what kind of ideas can we exchange with each other. And so it began a Renaissance era of music that really flourished, and culture that really flourished. One story that was so coincidental that Zain actually put in your packets was the story of Ziryab. Ziryab was an oud player in Iraq during the rule of Harun al-Rashid. And Ziryab's instructor or teacher went by the name of Ishaq al-Mosuli. Ishaq from Mosul, Iraq. And Mosul, which we know today thanks to our folks here in D.C. Mosul was actually at one point really the center of music culture, and culture in general, art and everything in Iraq at one point, around the 8th century. And so Ziryab, which means blackbird, who comes actually from a different name, Ibn Hanafi, I believe is his name. And he played oud, and one day his teacher, Ishaq, wanted to present him to Harun al-Rashid, to say, here's your chance, go ahead and perform in front of him. Well, not thinking that he would outdo his own professor, he proposed a song and sang in honor of Harun al-Rashid and his greatness, and in a way that wasn't so contrived, in a way that wasn't so pandering either. So Harun al-Rashid found favor in Ziryab, and his overzealous teacher became a little bit jealous and said, you have to leave this town. I can't guarantee your safety anymore, so it's time to go. So he was exiled, and he left. Ziryab landed in Tunisia, where, believe it or not, even in the 9th century, people were critical of government. Revolution has been around for a very, very long time. And so he began writing poetry and songs critical of the Tunisian government at the time. Not the Tunisian government, but Tunis, where he was, whatever the province was known as. And so he had to leave. So once he left there, he ended up landing in Cordoba, Spain. It was under Moorish rule. And he discovered that this was a hotbed of flourishing culture. And his contribution, aside from just music, being an exceptional oud player, this is an oud. I'm sure many of you, since you are musicians, know. It's very similar to the guitar. In fact, it's like a predecessor to the guitar, grandfather guitar. Initially, it began with 1 to 2 strings, and it was a Persian instrument known as balbat, which is, I believe, the Persian word for goose, because of its shape. Kind of like a goose. And so later on, it was called an oud because prior to it being called oud, when it was barbat, they actually had a skin on the face, regular skin. Once they started putting wood, they called it oud, which literally means wood in Arabic. It's like the word wood without W. And Ziryab, it had remained unchanged for quite some time until Ziryab began to add more courses of strings to it, to provide more room, more flexibility to go to more complex scales, and really demonstrate more virtuosity in playing. Because prior to that, mainly instruments would accompany poetry. Everything was about the words, it was about the oral history. So until he started adding more strings, it really was mainly for poetry, mainly for reading. And so after he was exiled, landed in Cordoba, he brought with him the oud, but also fashion. Ziryab was also known to be, I guess the word was, Christian Dior of Cordoba, Spain. And he introduced, as you probably read in some of the packets there, people that wear bangs. His hairstyle was different. The clothing and the fabrics that he brought with him were very colorful and ornate, being closer to the east, closer to the Silk Road. And so he started a fashion trend. He was a stickler for etiquette as well, meaning brushing your teeth, speaking well. Things like this actually started to permeate the culture there, and he had a profound influence, eventually establishing an institute of music that outlasted him by 400 or 500 years. So Ziryab's contribution is still felt to today, really. So the song we're going to play is a little muwashah suite. The first part of it is called Arja'ya Alf Layla. Arja'ya Alf Layla literally means return to us 1001 nights. And I'm going to follow it by another song from the Andalusian era called Lamma Bada Yatafanna. I'm sure you'll probably recognize the melody if you've heard it. It's been redone and done over and over again in multiple languages. And though nothing was truly documented 100%, it was predominantly an oral tradition, as most folk cultures have ever been. There have remained many, many scripts and the poetry, and the melodies just carry on from here to there